The gentleman from Georgia, Mr. Loudermilk, is now recognized for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Chairman Powell, thank you for being here, and congratulations on your nomination to continue your job for a second term. I think it's well-deserved. Before I get to my questions, though, I want to hold up something here. This is a Ukrainian dollar. It's a hryvnia. I kept some of these when I was in Ukraine several years ago doing some ministry work, and I think it's interesting to think that what happens in the next few days may determine whether this is another defunct piece of currency and the nation returns to a ruble, or will this maintain some of its value? But as you look at it, you can see it's a fraction, physically a fraction the size of the US dollar. It takes about 30 of these hryvnias to match a US dollar, but when you look at values, our dollar has decreased in value, as you have mentioned, due to inflation. Now, a year ago when you testified before this committee, I asked what your outlook was for the economy, and you said you expected economic growth to be strong for the rest of 2021. But at that time, I warned that the $2 trillion stimulus bill that was making its way through Congress at that time was unnecessary and far too big, given the economy was already recovering. Lo and behold, these predictions came true. In your opening statement, you mentioned that you didn't expect inflation to continue at the rate it is right now, but I also recall throughout 2021, we heard that inflation was slight, it was going to be temporary, but I also understand that that prediction probably didn't include the actions and the roles that Congress had, as you had said. Now, according to a report from the Federal Reserve Bank of San Francisco, because the American Rescue Plan was so extremely large and was passed when the economy was already recovering, this was a significant contributing factor to inflation. Do you agree with that report from San Francisco's bank that our reckless spending is a contributing factor to our inflation?
I wouldn't like to comment on any particular law, but I'll say this. All of the things that we did after the pandemic were we turned our dials as hard as we could, so did you, with the CARES Act, and the economy did benefit from that. We have the strongest economy in the world now. But part of that, no doubt part of what we did and what Congress did without naming any particular laws is also part of the reason why inflation is high now.
Right. So there are multiple contributing factors to that, being reckless spending, which devalues our dollar, is one of those. And what we heard last night was that there is not going to be a change in the direction this Congress is going or the White House. It sounds like we're just going to repeat the same mistakes we made in 2021. Now, I know that you have the tools of adjusting the interest rate. You mentioned increasing 25 base points, and you mentioned that it may be necessary to go higher. Understand that. Do you still think that inflation will be temporary? And I believe that you said it would be short-lived going forward because of resolving our supply chain issues. But since there are other contributing factors to that, are you anticipating that Congress or the administration will undo some of the failed policies, such as the spending policies and the suppressing of America's energy supply, which has been a significant contributing factor? Let me rephrase that. If Congress and the White House does not change the policies of 2021 and continues down that same path, do you still believe that inflation will stabilize? Price stabilization will come this year?
Well, first, we've had this expectation, as you all know, for more than a year, and it hasn't actually come true. So we're humble about the fact that we can't really call with any confidence the turn. But it does seem that this year we'll be withdrawing policy accommodation. Actually, a lot of the fiscal policy spending has happened now, and so the impetus to growth will be declining and, in fact, negative from fiscal policy as it stands now. And those are things, and just the natural improvement of supply chains and labor supply and things like that. Those are the things we're looking to for relief on inflation, hoping for. Very difficult to say when they'll happen, and our job is to achieve price stability one way or the other.
Okay. I see I'm running out of time. I've got several other questions, but I'll submit those for the record, and I yield back, Madam Chair.